Well, hi there, all you Weberful people online, and thank you for joining us. My name is Michael Kryton, and this is Kryton Live on fusedlogic TV. Today I am joined for a very special show. My co-host Brenda Jones from the Jones Index Network and the show by the same name, the Jones Index, which is going very well. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I really appreciate it because Brenda is also developing other concepts, show concepts around personal development. And for the show that we have today, I thought it would be appropriate to have you come in and get involved because you're very connected to this sort of thing. And maybe to tease, well, how you feeling? You feeling good? You ready for this?
I am. I'm totally ready. When you told me about Donish, I went on his websites and just basically fell in love with this man.
He's remarkable, isn't he?
He's a very deep man, and some of the things that he's done in a very short time.
Well,
I'm very excited to talk to him.
I ran into him and actually Empire Avenue. He's there too, and then I was fascinated by him. Danish Ahmed is a Pakistani albino. He was born in Pakistan, and as a result of the condition that he has lived with, he is legally blind. He actually has about 5% of his vision. Obviously, growing up with a challenge and adversity, he transformed himself and is now connecting to thousands and millions of people around the world. He's an international speaker. He is a Canadian best-selling author of A Dictionary of Distinctions, which we will be talking about. It is also selling internationally and, in fact, has been translated into Mandarin, so I'll be very curious to talk to him about that and some of the feedback that he's received from that. He also has been described as a blind visionary. But one thing that I found very interesting, and I did not know this until I went on his websites, which we will show, and we're going to delve into his online book and a few other things, is he is the producer of an online viral movie that has gone blockbuster. It is called The Love Movie and has been seen by over 1 million people in over 112 countries, and I'm sure it's growing. And I saw the movie probably 3 or 4 months ago, and it is a very simple but amazingly compelling piece. And so what I would like to do is have you watch that and get motivated to love the world, as Donish always likes to say. And by way of introduction, we'll come back to him after the movie, and you will have a chance to meet with him, hear what he has to say, interact with him online. This is The Love Movie, produced by Danish Ahmed. ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the gentleman who's behind me on the screen, Skyping in from Toronto, Danish Ahmed. How are you doing, Donish?
I'm awesome. Thank you for having me, Michael.
Before we get into a little bit about your life and background, we're going to go through a few photos that will sort of introduce people, and of course, we'll make sure that everyone knows where you can be found online for further investigation, which is the beauty of interactive television this way, is that people can do other things while they're watching too. Give me a bit of background on producing the movie, what motivated you to do it, and perhaps you can also talk about whether or not you were expecting the kind of response that you have been getting to this movie. Give us some background.
Great. Well, a bunch of friends and I were totally into personal development, and it changed our lives. And we thought that the industry was very institutional, it was very old school. People had to sit in a lecture style, hundreds of people for 12 hours a day for 3 or 4 days. And people would get tremendous transformation, but people weren't interested in that type of institutional education. What people wanted was, a quick, fast, let me understand, let me get it, let me transform myself quickly. We're an instant gratification society. And we were sitting together and said, how can we deliver this? Well, we can use the power of the internet. We could use the power of music and entertainment, the power of visuals, and let's give something to everybody in a 3-minute bite-sized piece that will jolt them, that will get to their heart, get to their spirit, and cause them to create a shift in their consciousness that would otherwise take thousands of dollars or hundreds of hours of transformational education.
Well, I mean, the amazing thing to me about this particular piece, and having worked as a writer, producer, director, I look at its simplicity, and that's what amazes me. It is so simple in terms of the production, simple in terms of its messaging. Everything is layered very nicely, but it is incredibly, incredibly compelling. Were you expecting to get the kind of response that you have received to this movie?
Oh, yes. Because, one of the things that personal development and the law of attraction teaches us is to focus on what we want. And what I wanted and what I was committed to was that kind of viral explosion to impact millions of people. That was actually one of the intentions that we laid down when we architected the movie, is what kind of impact do we want on the world? So we achieved what we envisioned.
All right, let's move on to, by the way, there is the lovemovie.com. If you want to check out the movie, it's on YouTube. You can Google it. It's very easy to find. It continues to grow in its popularity, and I do encourage anyone who can to pass it on who sees it. We're going to talk a little bit about your life now, give some background to that before we watch our next clip and then go into your Canadian best-selling book, by the way, which I have my own copy of. I'll have to get you to sign it somehow. And so if we go to my laptop, Evan, we're going to talk about some photos that sort of are aspects of the life. There he is, that cute little guy. I didn't necessarily want to get it, but there you are, born in Pakistan, and you came over when you're young. But I want to talk about photograph 2 here, because I just want to read to the viewers what it says. The social isolation from my differences and disabilities had me spend most of my time on computers. In grade 3, they wouldn't let me touch them because I might press the wrong keys. But by age 13, I was taking grade 12 computers, taught grade 13, helped to create a biomedical patent, and raised $1.5 million for a .com startup. Wow. First of all, I would love to find out, can you tell us a little bit about the biomedical patent?
Sure. It uses ultrasound energy to measure the intensity of soft tissue injuries. So
I think I understand that.
Just that simple?
Yeah, okay.
Jesse would get it.
We had other people on the team, like a medical doctor and people who understand the biomechanics. I wrote most of the software, so I understood the logic and the concept of how the products work. And I was the architect in designing all the user interface and so forth.
I mean, that's one interesting part about your life, is that there is that technical background that you have, and it's interesting to see now how you've now kind of segued into this phase of your life. And I mean, you did that a long time ago, actually. And the $1.5 million that you raised, can you tell us a little bit about that .com that you're referring to?
Sure. We kind of built the internet from the ground up, from TCP/IP up. We constructed a browser that you didn't need to use Internet Explorer or Netscape or Chrome to browse the internet, and the internet had a new look. Rather than it being page-based, it was full-blown distributed processing applications. In other words, you could be using an application that looked like Microsoft Word, but none of it would be on the local machine. It would all be distributed through algorithms over TCP/IP. Now, a lot of that actually can be done today. Because remember, I created the .com back in 1999, 2000. And but of course, Microsoft and Java took about $1 billion to do it. We took about $1.5 million to do it. But of course, who wins is the person who has more marketing budget.
Let's look at the second photo I picked here. It's number 6, called Ordinary Words, Inc. And the reason I picked it because branding is very important. Certainly, FuseLogic TV, we think about how we brand ourselves. We have a show with Don Norris on FuseLogic TV called Brandvertising, and he delves into that in quite a significant way. What I found very intriguing about this was Ordinary Words, Inc. and the whole concept of ordinary. Maybe you could share a little bit around your concept of your brand and how ordinary fits into that. Because if anything, you're not the ordinary guy.
You're extraordinary.
What's that?
I says you're extraordinary.
Yes, exactly. When I was growing up, and all the adversity I went through, people might notice, my eyes. I can't even control them very well, and they go all over the place. And dealing with, the social isolation and the depression and just the difficulty being blind and not being able to see, it was difficult. And I went through depression and suicidal thoughts and psychotherapy and psychiatry for 3 times a week and antidepressants. And what changed or transformed or caused the first shift in my life was being exposed to the personal development industry. And it wasn't that it changed me overnight, but like Jim Rohn says, you don't change your destination overnight, but you change your direction overnight. And changing my direction had me now a newfound passion for seeking out this kind of information, material, and wisdom. So I made it my mission and my priority throughout high school to do all sorts of personal development programs in all areas of life and in all parts of the world and in all different modalities. So I discovered that personal development was very broad. I mean, there were areas that personal development focused on spirituality, like the Course in Miracles, or science, like neuro-linguistic programming, or whether it was about psychological understanding, or whether it was about metaphysics, or whether it was just about culture. Or different therapies that are offered, whether it's cognitive therapy or non-directive therapy or hypnotherapy. All these things are about transforming the self, about raising consciousness and becoming a person that creates your life. But all of them don't work many of the time. And the question that Tony Robbins asked and the question that I asked is, what's common in all of them when they are working? And what's common in all of them when they are working, from my perspective, was they went back to this foundation of understanding language, of understanding words, of becoming conscious of the words we use in our own minds and the words we use to communicate to other people. And that level of consciousness and understanding is what transforms our lives.
Speaking of words, the next photo that I have is the one of your cover of your book in China, and Evan, if you can bring that up. This is the Dictionary of Distinctions that was published in Mandarin for Chinese distribution. We'll be talking about the book in detail in the next segment, but I just thought I'd ask quickly, have you had feedback from China from people who've actually purchased and read it?
Oh, yeah. People love it. They think it's a great tool to help themselves understand English. Because a lot of times when people are taught a language, they're taught from a very authoritative perspective, like this is the definition of a word. And what we understand in culture, especially the way our species is evolving, is that language is not based so much on definition as it is based on context, as it is based on the nuances and the cultural connotations that are associated to each word. So my book, what it does is it allows people to understand the definitions of words through differentiating different words together and understanding when is the right context or situation to use one word as opposed to another word, although most people might see them as synonyms.
But we're going to take a look at a little bit, and we're going to dig down into that. I had one other photo, but I think I'm going to bump ahead a little bit in sort of in preserving our time frame, because I know that we could probably have a show that could go on for most of the day, because there's so much to cover. If Evan, you'll bring up the my laptop here. This is All Communications Network, and you're a businessman as well as being a visionary and a writer and a producer. This is a very interesting company, and I'm aware or familiar with this type of network marketing. Maybe we're going to do a small segment on this later in the program. Maybe briefly tell me about how you connected with this, because these guys are being featured, as I understand, on Celebrity Apprentice on Sunday, March 27th. Trump is obviously very connected to this, so obviously that means something in terms of what it's about. How did you get connected to it?
Well, one of the aspects of personal development, like when I was doing that throughout high school, I raised about $30,000. I was doing all sorts of programs I could. And a big element of that understanding is financial understanding, financial literacy, and financial independence, so that you can have the ability to create the life that you want in all ways. And so I was an entrepreneur really early, because I understood that I would never become rich by being an employee. And more so, understanding my life conditions, I understood that it took me more money to become equivalently functional than most other people. For example, because I can't drive and I need to get places, well, now I need to rely on cabs, or need to give myself a lot more time if I'm using public transit, or just having the tools I need to be able to see or to navigate. Those cost more money. When I get lost, all these different attributes most people are not conscious of to someone who has a disability. I understood that. That's me getting a new message, by the way.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's a great business. I was telling you, today was one of the best days of my life, because I woke up and all I do is I go to a back office that tells me how much my residuals have increased this month. And so I've always been interested in becoming an entrepreneur, but being an entrepreneur is not easy, and that's why most people don't become an entrepreneur, because it usually, historically, requires a lot of capital. It requires, resources and connections, luck, whatever you call it. But today, and this is what's so fascinating about network marketing, is we've created a system that allows people to be entrepreneurs without that risk, without needing a lot of capital to start up, without needing a lot of experience. In fact, with hardly any capital, with hardly any experience, people can create a profitable business that is not only a great asset, but that is a residual occurring asset. For example, I don't need to put the work into my business to make sure the same amount of residuals come to me month after month for the rest of my life. And it allows me to do the things that I love, which is being on video and talking to people over the internet with you guys.
We're going to take a look at some of the things they offer through ACN and one of the final segments of the show. We're going to, before we discuss your book in a little bit more depth, A Dictionary of Distinctions, we're going to watch a clip that is going to show you a little bit more history in terms of your life and show you in action as well. And there's a beautiful piece of music or a song that's on this that I really love. So, Evan, let's roll that. This is a promo video that your most recent one. This tells a little bit more of the story of our guest on Kryton Live, Danish Ahmed.
Hi, my name is Donish. I'm an author, an entrepreneur, and a producer of inspirational entertainment. I'm blind. I'm an albino. I'm actually from Pakistan. Came to Canada when I was 4 years old. Kids used to tease me and abuse me until I started working on myself at the age of 14. That's why I produce inspirational entertainment.
Are you living your dreams? Are you living your dreams? Are you living your dreams? Then why are you here today?
Think about that. It doesn't matter what you say to people. What matters is how they feel when they're with you. Because if they feel good when they're with you, then they'll want to be with you more.
That's why I produce inspirational entertainment. Because I want to show people how cooperation and collaboration can make a wild, crazy dream come true.
When we look around the world, when we read the papers, what we see is a deepening despair. So much fear and hurt, we don't even trust our neighbors. It's as if we've been instructed not to care. So, now is the time. Let's hit the ground running. The world is crying out to try something new. Only hand in hand we'll find that a brighter day is coming. This is the most important work we'll ever do. 'Cause a gift of love is made to last, and there's no greater giving than giving back. Unite for compassion, for connection, for forgiveness. Unite for inspiration, education, peace and justice. Unite, together we can make a better life for all of humankind. If you and I unite, every man and every woman, every child, unite, every color, every country.
We're back on Kryton Live. Brenda Jones, I'm Michael Kryton, and our guest is Danish Ahmed from Toronto, a visionary, an author, a producer, a businessman, a man who obviously has very little time to do anything else but be busy. But we're going to be talking now about a dictionary of distinctions, which is an amazing read, a book that one can continue to read over and over again.
It can be a daily inspirational
It's sold out here, and I managed to get one copy, and I've been reading through it. And we've already talked a little bit about it, so I wanted to focus in on a couple of things that I found particularly interesting in the book, and you can share with me a little bit. I really like what you say around think, justify, do, and feel, because on page 19 of the book it says losers feel, think, do, and justify. Winners think, justify, do, and feel. So obviously the distinctions now between thinking, justifying, doing, and feeling. Help me understand that a little bit more.
Well, it's basically the difference between people being in reaction to the world and creating the world, right? People say, I'm doing this because I feel this way, as opposed to doing things in order to feel a certain way. So, for example, when I was depressed, I blamed my depression. I said, my depression is causing me to have a life that I don't like, and I can't do anything, and I don't want to do anything. As opposed to saying, no, if I'm gonna do things, if I'm gonna put effort into creating my life, then I won't be depressed. Kind of like Zig Ziglar said, people are not don't sing because they're happy. They're happy because they sing.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Some interesting comments on chat. We could use these approaches in life and our politics. I don't want to get into politics right now. We'll actually talk a little bit about politics a little later in our controversial section of the show when we talk about the New World Order. Another part which I found extremely thought-provoking, being positive or negative. This is in the distinctions of the definitions negative and wrong. You write, being positive or negative is a matter of perspective. Being right or wrong is a matter of intention. And then just on the same page, you state, question people's behavior all day long, but never question their intentions. Share your perspective on that.
Well, see, when you question other people's intentions, when you question their integrity, when you come from a place of assuming that they were being malicious to you deliberately, well, first of all, that 99.99% of the time, that's never true anyways. I mean, the world isn't made up of people like that. So usually it's a false perspective. And by holding on to that perspective, it doesn't give us the freedom to really communicate in an open way that allows us to understand. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And the way you seek to understand is you come from a place of assuming the opposite, assuming that the other person is coming from a place of love, assuming that they have the best of intentions. And when you assume that the other person has the best of intentions, then you come to realize that there really was a miscommunication. Really, that is the essence of all challenges in life, is a miscommunication, not a desire to be malicious to the other person.
Danish Ahmed is my guest on Kryton Live. I'm Michael Kryton, along with Brenda Jones from the Jones Index, who is going to be talking to you and picking apart The Truth Is Here in the upcoming segment. We have a comment from Leanne online, and by the way, you can just scroll down below the viewing screen and jump into our chat room, and please feel free to ask any question, make any comments. But interesting, she says, she jumped in midway, she admits, and she says, I may have missed this, however, what was his shifting point? Everyone who is living their greatness has one where they experience something that pushes them to transform and puts them on their path of greatness. So her question to you then, Donish, is what was your shifting point?
My shifting point was probably when I was 13 years old, sitting at home late at night, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, not being able to go to sleep and being depressed, and flipping through the television channels and coming across an infomercial. And that infomercial was Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. And I listened to him, and it was like this aha moment, this moment that was like, wow, this is the first time I'm hearing a perspective that actually makes sense to me, that is inspiring me, that's causing me to be driven towards learning more. And I just loved it. To me, I didn't have the money to even buy his tapes at the time, because there's no CDs at the time. Another message. And and what I just watching him over and over again, hardly every day for like 3 or 4 months, made me realize that there was more to life. And then when I started asking people about him, when I started talking to associates or friends or people in school about what they thought of him, my response back was, well, he's a scam artist, he's going to rip you off, he makes all his money from his tapes, he doesn't care about you, which made me convinced that he had something good to offer me. That's
an excellent perspective. As a matter of fact, our next clip is going to be very appropriate, because it's going to show you in action, and it's called Are You Ready to Listen? Engineering Millionaires Keynote. Before we do it, I just want to remind people, this is the book, A Dictionary of Distinctions, available in bookstores across Canada. It's also available internationally in Mandarin and Chinese, so for our Asian viewers, if you want to read this compelling book, I certainly encourage you to do so. I'm going to be going over it and over it, I think, many, many times. It's excellent reading. It's bite-sized. Everything you can digest as much as you want, as little as you want, and you can go back and reread. It's a very
These are the types of things as well, like you were just saying, that it took you a while to sort of get into some of the new concepts of personal development. So, because what you're actually doing is you're changing old mindsets. Is that what you found, Danish?
Yeah, old habits, conditioning. Even through the education system, what I found is people are indoctrinated. They're given, propaganda, and they're given misinformation deliberately to cause them to be a certain way. And it's tough. I mean, I feel for people to break out of that. In a way, I was lucky, because in terms of having my disabilities, what had me not be as conditioned was I couldn't see, right? And I was separated from other people. I was not part of the regular curriculum that most people got. I was given the opportunity to be taken aside and given direction on how to navigate myself in the class. Someone from Metrovision came and taught me how to use my eyes more effectively and how to cross the street. And I wasn't allowed to take physical education, because in sports and in the gym, I would bump into things and hurt myself. So I had a very different curriculum than most people had in elementary school.
Right.
And I think that was a gift, because that allowed me to have almost a bird's eye view of the conditioning that was happening. But more importantly, as I got introduced to the personal development industry, to tap into a new stream of consciousness that was at a much more fitting vibration for who I was.
Well, looks like we have Tony Robbins is still to be respected given what he has contributed. And this next clip also shows what Danish Ahmed can do once you let him loose on the stage. And this is a clip that's called, "Are You Ready to Listen?"
And so this is what I learned. In the context of asking myself the question, what can I say that will make a difference for you? The answer I come up with, absolutely nothing. Because this is what I've learned. It doesn't matter what I say. What matters is how you listen. The foundation to everything is how you listen. Because now whether it's me or whether there's any other speaker up here, there's so many different ways you can listen. And sometimes we think of this as a cliche. We say, oh yeah, we got 2 years, 1 month, I'm supposed to listen more often than I talk. But we don't realize how often it is we're talking, because most of the time when we're talking is not with our mouth, but with our mind. So we think we're listening, but in the back of our mind we're saying stuff to ourselves. We're saying stuff like, this is called Engineering Millionaires, and I'm talking about how to become a millionaire. This is all about attitude or personal development or other stuff. You could be listening and saying, well, that doesn't make sense, or that doesn't apply to my life, or that's not applicable to me. And when you listen from that context, all those things will be true. But when you listen from, how can I use that? How can I apply that in my life? What can I take from that that I haven't taken before? Even though I understand that or have heard that before, what about that am I not applying 100% that I could apply in my life? And if you listen from that context, all of a sudden you get so much more. Because there'll be speakers who are not that great in life, and not at this event, but at other events. And there'll be someone in the audience who totally gets enlightened and has their life changed. And at the same time, there might be a speaker who's totally phenomenal, has all the profound wisdom you could ever use in your life, and nothing happens. And again, it's not because of what's said, it's because of what's heard. So my question to you, are you ready to listen? Yeah. Are you ready to listen?
Danish Ahmed is our guest on Kryton Live on fusedlogic TV, Skyping in from Toronto, a best-selling author, a producer, a visionary. And Brenda, you've been taking a look at, and I'll bring this up on my
questions that we've had here
on my laptop. We can show the what I've got. The truth is here. And this, I'm going to hand it over to you, Brenda, to interrogate our good friend in Toronto.
Well, Danish, I just have to tell you, when Michael told me about you and I started reading on your website and reading about some of your books and some of the amazing inspirational things that you brought forward to our world, I just fell in love with you. You are an amazing man. You have an amazing story. And I just say, keep doing what you're doing. Let's join together and get as many other people on board as we can. And we've had a lot of activity in our chat room today, and one of the questions that was posed by Rick was,
here it is.
Yeah, do you find that things happen by coincidence, or is there something that's driving this force for the reason of why things happen to us in life?
That's a very good question.
It is.
A great I heard is that a coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous.
I love that.
And, this is a philosophy that we can talk about for hours and for days. But what underlines this philosophy to me is something that I actually heard from Tony Robbins. And he said, it doesn't matter whether what we believe is true or not. What matters is whether the belief that we have empowers us or not. So lots of people are so attached, like I was, to what's the truth, what's the reality. Are there really coincidences, or is there destiny? Is there faith, or is it all circumstance and randomness? And ultimately, we don't know. But if what we believe empowers us, if it empowers you to believe that there's destiny and there's faith, then believe it, because it'll cause you to be more driven, it'll cause you to be more proactive, it'll cause you to find the positive meaning in things. And if that doesn't empower you, if you feel that means that my destiny is written and I don't have choice, then believe that you're a complete creator and that there is no destiny. So whatever belief that you have, realize whether it's making a positive difference for your identity and for yourself and for your worth and your work in the world, or is it having a negative impact?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's That's just so true. You know, so many times people I don't think they realize the power of you know, what they speak. They get what they speak. I've had incidences in my life where if I change the way that I approach something, the way that I speak about something, change will happen. And again, I think you were referring to that a little bit earlier about sometimes we just have to switch the order of things, and things will transpire.
Well, one experience, if I can offer my 2 cents worth here, seeing as you guys are getting along so great, you know, getting worked out, is that I was always interested in the way, the differences in the way men and women think, and I'll make this brief. But at one point, I grasped onto the concept that women tend to think globally first, and men tend to be very task-oriented. So whenever I would do my work, whether it was writing a script or working with a client, if it was a lady, then I would go in and it'd kind of walk in the room and sit down for the meeting and say, "So how's the world? How are things going?" And he would start from there and then drill down. When I would sit down with a businessman, I'd say, "Okay, so what do you want to do first?" It was that kind of approach. And the impact that had on my process was amazing. But I don't want to take away from what you guys are talking about, so carry on.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about your amazing online book called Blind Vision, The Truth is Here. Now, we talked briefly about, you know, your step into personal development and just the way that you've described it here. Expanding your consciousness, being enlightened, causing transformation. All of these things have we can see that they've happened in a huge way in your life. So for people that are just coming into this stage in their life, what would you offer them? What would be the first thing that you would tell them to do? Would it be to go to a certain author, or would it be go to a certain topic that maybe they're dealing with?
I would tell them to go to thelovemovie.com and subscribe to my list. And here's why. And you know, it might be my list or anyone else's list. But the point is to have a consistent input of that consciousness and education. Most of the time, the way people think is quick fix. Let me do something once. Let me do X. And once I've done X, I'll accomplish it. And then I won't ever to do it again. And again, Zig Ziglar said, someone asked Zig Ziglar, you know, you're going to inspire all these people. You come to this conference, 30,000 people are going to be jazzed up. But what about next week? What about next month? Will this motivation really last? And Zig Ziglar looks at them and he says, no, it doesn't. But neither does bathing. that anything in life requires consistency. It requires consistent action. So my recommendation is what doesn't matter what you do, as long as you stay committed to doing it. Most of the time people fail is because they tried once and they say, oh, it didn't work. Change my life in 30 seconds, therefore it doesn't work. And that is the biggest fallacy and the biggest disservice someone can do for themselves.
That's very, very true. You've got 3 critical steps to starting a personal development course right. You talk about being open-minded, and the second one, or on that, in that being open-minded, you talk about a course in miracles. Share a little bit about that, how that changed your life.
Yeah, every personal development program, I think, can do different things for different people. And you never know when you're going to get that nugget or even that phrase. You know, sometimes you might go through 3 days of a course, and most of it might be horrible. But if one of the leader says one thing, one sentence that causes an aha moment, that causes you to shift your action or your behavior for the rest of your life, that is transformational. So one of the distinctions that I got personally from the Course in Miracles, to answer your question, is the distinction that every action we take as human beings is either a cry for help or an offer of love. So it either comes from a place of offering love or a cry for help. And when you take that on, not like, again, it's the truth, but like, is it a way that can help me live my life that will be empowering? And it is, because when I look at the challenges I have in my life, or in my relationships with people, the conflicts I've had with institutions, if I look from, either they're coming from wanting to give me a service and coming from love, or they're asking for help. They're asking for me to help them in a challenge that they have. And whenever I took that on as a belief, it empowered me to move forward. And that kind of distinction can change people's lives.
Thank you for that. And I want to remind viewers that they can go to DanishAhmed.com. That would be DanishAhmed.com is one place where you can find The Truth Is Here. There are various sections to it. I've looked already at quite a number of them, and all of them very, very compelling. When we come back, we're gonna shift the focus a little bit and talk some business, and you'll have a chance to talk about ACN. But I'm really looking forward to this next clip. It's called "You Are My Rhythm in Life." It's a music video featuring a good friend of yours, and maybe just a kind of a quick ramp up to that, Donish, your relationship with Paul Hoffman, who's a brilliant musician composer.
Well, Paul Hoffman, I met him through Humanity Unites Brilliance, which is an organization to eliminate world poverty. It's a great movement. And I feel like we're soul brothers because we had this similar vision to produce inspiring entertainment. When in that whole genre of creating the love movie, it didn't stop at the love movie. I wanted to create, a whole genre of music and videos and Hollywood movies and musicals, all about transformation. And this man, Paul Hoffman, had already produced several CDs of inspirational songs, of songs that were of a high vibration, all about living life to the fullest and giving people distinctions. And what's so powerful about that, when you do it through music, it's subconscious. Trying to change your life consciously takes a lot of effort. But when you do it through music, and that's why music is such has a huge impact on our culture and our social construct. But if we modify the mainstream music and make it inspirational music, like Paul Hoffman's, then we can really start changing the world at a rapid pace. Now, I fell in love with this song because not only was it of a high vibration, but it was all about love. And as you hear it, I think you'll love the song. And pay close attention to the lyrics because there is profound wisdom in each of the words. And we can spend a whole day talking about implementing the wisdom that is each of the lines of this song.
Well, this is one of two clips that we're going to play of Paul Hoffman today, and I hope you enjoy it. This is Paul Hoffman, and You Are the Rhythm. You Are My Rhythm in Life.
I give you my heart. I open my soul to all the joy you are, to all the joy you are. You gave me hope when I couldn't see. Through my darkest days, you believed in me. You believed in me. You believed in me. With you I get to see every part of me. More and more of just who I am. Your love has shown me that I can. You gave me hope when I couldn't see. Through my darkest days, you believed in me. You believed in me. You believed in me. You loved me when I couldn't love myself. You gave me all of you. There was no one else. You loved, let me hear, and you saw me through. Now all I wanna do is give it back to you. You were my rhythm in life, my dream come true. I get lost in love when I'm with you. You know you pick me up when I need a lift. You see all of me. You are my divine gift. You're my rhythm in life, my dream come true. You are my heart and soul. I just want you to know that all that makes life rich and full came through your love, came through your love.
You're watching Kryton Live on FuseLogic TV. I'm Michael Kryton, along with Brenda Jones, and our guest from Toronto, a magnificent man affecting millions in the world, the producer of the Love movie, and we saw it earlier, and I really encourage you to go see it. It's a great way to meet who he is, to find out what his message is. And before we move on to ACN and sort of the business side of what he's doing in life, you wanted to close off with one more comment about Truth is Here, which is the online book, by the way.
The topic of fear, and I've met so many people in my life, it's happened in my life as well. Fear can be gripping. Fear can stop people dead in their tracks, and I think it's something that you have addressed so beautifully. And 4 simple steps to feel the fear and do it anyways. You talk about feel it, express it, appreciate it, and use it. If you could just summarize for this for us, Donish, it's just absolutely beautiful.
Well, it's so simple that is surprising, because many times people say, well, that's simple, I know that, it's easy to do, but then they don't do it, because no matter how simple something is to do, it's always simpler not to do it. And those words can be self-explanatory, or they can go onto my site, donishahmed.com, and read the detailed descriptions. But the first thing about feel is to fear it. People try to suppress it, they try to deny it, and if you do that, then of course the fear wins. The second thing to do is to express it, which means to share, to talk to someone about it, because as you become self-expressed about it, it tends to subside. Or if you don't have a friend to talk to, then you use journaling, and you use a diary. There's a way to self-express it. And then you appreciate it. You realize that it was there for a reason, that there's benefit in this, that everything happens for a positive net benefit, or alternative, make it into a net benefit. It'll cause me to be more prepared, or it'll cause me to be more resourceful, or it'll cause me to be more attentive. Look for the positive things that fear is doing for you. And what was the last one?
The last one was use it. Use it for a positive benefit.
Absolutely, and that is to one of the great things I hear, for example, if you have fear when you're public speaking, what you do is you don't try getting rid of the fear, but you use it in that you smile. So when you smile and you're nervous, you actually look very excited. And that's how you use fear. You realize it's not there to go away. It's there to drive you and move you to the next step.
Well, if we're up to Brenda, I could just go get lunch and then kind of come back for the next segment. There is so much content. The Truth is Here. Danish Ahmed is here as well with us, author of the Canadian best-selling book, A Dictionary of Distinction, and also the producer of the movie, The Love Movie. By the way, we still want to encourage, we have a couple of questions towards the end of the show. We perhaps can take a couple of quick moments to ask a couple of these questions when we have when we've reached that point. What we're going to do is look at the business side of Danish Ahmed and a company called All Communications Network, ACN, to understand a little bit about this very interesting company that is connected to Mr. Trump as well. Watch this clip right now.
ACN's business opportunity is going prime time again with its encore appearance on The Celebrity Apprentice, a first in network marketing history. In 2006, ACN's home-based business opportunity made history when it received the personal endorsement of Mr. Trump. Since then, Mr. Trump has continued to praise our company, its co-founders, and home-based business opportunity, making numerous appearances from the ACN stage.
I've had the pleasure of using ACN's video phone, and I want to tell you, it's really good, and the technology is fantastic. It's the way to communicate, and it's the future.
In 2009, ACN had its first primetime appearance on NBC's The Celebrity Apprentice, and it was one of the show's top-ranked episodes. Donald Trump himself has invited ACN to be a part of The Celebrity Apprentice again. And here is your invitation to see for yourself what all the excitement is about. ACN's home-based business and its revolutionary Iris 5000 video phone will be featured on NBC's The Celebrity Apprentice on March 27th, being recognized by Donald Trump as an exceptional company with an outstanding opportunity and product is the epitome of endorsements for us at ACN. And we're even more excited to watch our business and our revolutionary video phone brought to life by a creative, eclectic group of celebrities during ACN's encore appearance in prime time.
It just doesn't get more personal than this. So take some time to learn about ACN. It's a great company and with a revolutionary product.
We're sure our episode will be a can't miss. Tune in March 6th for the season premiere of NBC's The Celebrity Apprentice. And then join us on March 27th to watch ACN's episode. If you can't make it, be sure to tune in to NBC on March 27th to see for yourself what all the excitement is about.
Welcome back to Kryton Live. My name is Michael Kryton. We're on fusedlogic TV with my guest host, Brenda Jones, and my guest, a celebrated man, a man who is growing in influence around the world, Danish Ahmed. Now we'll kind of turn things to a little bit of a different direction and focus in on all communications network. And I'm familiar with this kind of network marketing. I've had some experience with it. A very interesting approach, I think, because it focuses on, if you want to bring up the website, Evan, it focuses on providing the opportunity for people to make money, but through the use of services that are relevant to them. And as you'll see, I'll just quickly summarize. They have communication services such as digital phone service, local and long distance, bundled internet, wireless, mobile application, and then home services, including satellite TV, home security, and energy. Now, Donish, well, I guess the thing that I found that really makes this kind of thing work and has become so successful, obviously they're going to be on Celebrity Apprentice, and Donald Trump doesn't, second guess himself on things like this, is the idea of connecting with brands and helping brands market to the benefit of the people that are using the services. Tell me a little bit about that context of ACN.
Well, ACN, what I really love about it, makes it unique from any network marketing company, is that most network marketing companies have a great product or service. I've been involved with many. But the challenge with the growth of any organization is that in order to create residual income, that product needs to be consumed month after month after month. And many companies have a great product that people will consume month after month after month. Usually they tend to be health products, vitamins. But the challenge with something like vitamins or juices or potions or lotions is that if people, one, go through financial challenges, they'll get off those products. Two, they might not be totally into those products. I mean, some people will try vitamins, but then even if they're good for them, even if they're supposed to take them, they won't because they haven't developed that habit. But what we do know is that people have developed the habit to use electricity, and people have developed the habit to use their cell phones, and people have developed the habit to use internet. And they've developed that habit so much that when the economy gets bad, when they lose their job, they're not going to cancel their electricity, they're not going to cancel their telephone bill, and they're not going to cancel their internet service. And this is amazing for our industry because what it does is as you know, in network marketing, many people quit. It's because many people quit being entrepreneurs, and many people quit diets, and many people quit education. But many people quit life, which is unfortunate. But people need to use these services because they're essential services. And when people quit the business, they don't quit the service. And therefore, customer base constantly grows to a point where now I don't need to worry about my base source of income.
Well, when you look
it's a real opportunity, and I'm so glad I have the vision to stay in it.
Well, when you look at some of the brands, you have Bell, you have TELUS. I mean, there's a number of them, and we've been showing this this material, and behind it's on the website that you can access. Maybe you can share with us. What is the process of becoming involved? I mean, you don't have to give us. It might be complicated, but maybe you could summarize how it works in terms of being able to generate revenue as someone participating in ACN, as well as the use of the services. Maybe explain the structure a little bit.
Okay, well, the first thing I'll do is I'll give you a link you can go to so you can research this on your own. If you go to my website, ordinarywords.com/Trump, that's ordinarywords.com/TRUMP. There's a 3-minute video there that anyone can watch, and then they'll click on My Business Assistant, and inside of that is the entire website where they can explore the products, they can explore the opportunity, and there's many videos, including a 30-minute video that goes through in detail exactly how the structure works. Because it is very innovative, it is very different, and it's hard to get into the scope of that in a couple of minutes. But I'll give a couple of examples on why it's difficult, because, and this might lead into our next section, the world is changing a lot. And like I talked about, the education system, the government, and our media have a deliberate campaigns on misinformation. Our Hollywood, they deliberately tell people you need to become an employee. You can't be an entrepreneur, that these things are dangerous and that they're not good. And there's a bad image in the media, but that's because it's deliberate. It's deliberate by those institutions because they don't want people to be independent. They don't want people to be wealthy. And the other aspect to understand about this kind of structure is that it's long-term. It's not about getting rich quick. It's not about changing your life overnight. What it's about is changing your lifestyle so you're investing in yourself rather than investing into institutions that you don't believe in. And the biggest problem that most people make in any network marketing company is that they quit. They're in for a week or 2 weeks, but even some people, they're in for 6 months, for a year, and they think that's enough. And for me, I didn't make any money in ACN for the first 3 or 4 years, but am I glad I stayed in? And that's the key that most people never do, is they just don't have the vision to stay in long enough. But if you do, you're sitting on a system that works, you're sitting on a gold mine, and you can change your entire life if you just see the vision. And that's what I'm about, is really sharing that vision with people so they can get it and so we can change the world together.
I think that there's a great opportunity for people to. We actually showed your website as a representative while you were speaking, and we will be posting information online so that viewers who want to follow up can. I just wanted to make sure people could see it. Again, some of the brands that are involved are significant. Certainly it starts with Donald Trump supporting what the company is about. You see companies like Bell and TELUS and so on that are joining in, and there's an opportunity. For example, I'm reading right here, save up to 70% on your long distance and international calls. So you have a chance to get involved in a business that can help you generate revenue. But you're right. It's it's instant gratification that has taken over a lot of what we experience. And it's tough for people to remain involved. And in the network marketing programs I've participated in, that certainly has always been the number one problem, even though I've been able to be successful in some of them that I've done. The problem has been sustainability, because a lot of people are impatient. They can't wait.
They lose interest.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like you talked about, it's consistency. Whatever you decide to do, you got to be consistent with it, stick to it, and
exactly. So the company is All Communications Network. We will repeat the information in terms of where you can connect through Danish Ahmed on this application and this marketing program. Now we're going to get to the controversial part of the show. And this is where we talk about world order. There's a couple of things, though, I wanted to start off with. Evan, if you could bring up the laptop. 6C Steps for Humanity is on your blog. One that I found really interesting is around community, and I'm going to call it up right now. And there's one statement in there that I thought was great, because I didn't quite do something like this, but I almost did it. There's a section that says next to the cartoon, the fellow is saying psst, privacy conference, and then you have psst, you could even deliberately speak loudly in public spaces so strangers and onlookers can hear your conversations about transforming humanity. Tell me about the 6C Steps for Humanity.
Well, they're all about not just understanding our life and how to transform it. That's what personal development has been about. And, you have to be the change you wish to see in the world. So it all starts with yourself. You can't change the world until you change yourself first. And of course, people understand that, and that's true. However, our world is changing at a much more rapid pace right now than it ever was in history. And in history, people didn't change that much over time, but today people are changing very rapidly. And we've come into a culture now where if you just focus on yourself, we won't survive as a species. Because, this thing that's happening in Japan and, all the things that are happening in the world, we're so tied together globally that it's not enough to focus on yourself. Although it starts with yourself, it's very important to start with yourself. We can't stay there. And so what I realized in my whole genre of personal development is that the things like The Secret have actually done a disservice to a certain extent with people. And that's why The Secret got onto Larry King and Oprah. And I think it's a good thing. It reached the masses. But But in order to reach the masses, it almost have to trick them. And some people have been tricked by The Secret. And when I say tricked, is they take it to such an extreme that they become discompassionate to the rest of humanity.
Right.
They say to themselves, well, I don't care about the people dying in other parts of the world. I don't care about the hunger. I don't care about the nuclear pollution, because it's not affecting my life right now. I need to feed my family. I need to be healthy, and I need to take care of myself first. And I think we're moving into an era where that polarity is merging together, where we actually need to do both simultaneously. And that's what the 6 C's are all about. They're all about going from the self, from the personal development, into the community, and then into the world. How do we actually change the world? Because, yes, you start from changing your thoughts and your perspectives, but then you got to change monetary policy. You got to change political construct. You got to change global governments. You got to change the military-industrial complex. I mean, you don't just wish those things away. You actually have to architect and re-engineer those things.
A quote from the page that I'm looking at, which you lead into with fellow lovers of humanity. If we're also committed to social injustice, world peace, and personal fulfillment, after all these years, why do we still have so much injustice, war, and corruption in the world today? A question I'm actually going to ask you is, do you get accused of being a conspiracy theorist?
Oh, all the time. And that's part of the beauty of my life, is I've gotten accused of all sorts of things my whole life. So I'm used to it. I mean, I love it. To me, it makes me realize that I'm on the right track when people attack me with such interesting tactics. You know, one of my, I was a techie, and so I understand logic and debate. And when people don't use logic and rationale to attack me, really it just validates that I'm on the right track. It's how Gandhi said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And really, that's in my life. That's what when I was young, they ignored this information because they didn't want to read hundreds of pages of legalese. But now with YouTube videos, they can't stop. Watch, it's a 2-minute YouTube video. You don't need to understand legalese here. It's just understanding the concept. And then they laugh at you. They call you a conspiracy theorist because that's what they're doing is they're just validate. They need to validate their own reality. They need to feel like they haven't been conned their whole life when they have, and that's hard for people to come to terms with. Is their whole reality is being shattered, and rather than thinking as a debate, I come from a place of compassion and realize that I'm dealing with cultural conditioning. I'm dealing with propaganda, and I'm dealing with someone being in a hypnotic trance state, really in a zombie state. Not to be derogatory, but really to be accurate. And so I just tried making people aware that, first of all, you don't even understand the term. Because if you did, you'd realize a theory is a theory, and that you shouldn't be criticized for introducing any theory. I mean, every theory is just a theory, and to say something as a conspiracy theory just really means you're criticizing mathematical theory, you're criticizing logical theory. I mean, it's a conspiracy theory doesn't even say that it's true, although most of them are.
Well, we got a couple of minutes left, and a couple of interesting questions, and then I'd like to ask this one, and then Brenda, there's 2 others, and we're going to go into our wrap-up. What's been an exciting time. Danish Ahmed, my guest from Toronto, writer, producer, visionary, and all over the internet, so you can find him quite easily. I love it. Dan says, so if they agree with you, does that mean you are wrong if attacking you makes you know you're right? Good one, Dan. Thanks.
That's a good question. No, I mean, it's not. You don't use one variable as a way to assess whether you're on the right track or not. I was just indicating that that's a variable that validates, because people are much more likely to attack you than they are to agree with you. Now, see, and there's 2 ways people can agree with you, right? Because that statement is true, because a lot of people will agree with you just to be polite, just to be Canadian, just not to create a conversation, just not to be adversarial. And that context, yeah, you're on the right track if you have people agreeing with you, because they're just trying to please you. They're just trying to make you happy. And that's why certain measures in the world, I think, like money, are a good indication of whether people are really agreeing with you or are they just pretending to agree with you. Because they're putting their money on buying your products and buying your books and coming to your seminars, that means they're just being more than polite. They're actually getting tremendous value.
We have another question.
This is a question from Rick. It says, do you have a mental check to force yourself to keep an open approach?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the attributes of people who are open-minded and people who are have wisdom, because the first level of wisdom is to come from a place that you might be wrong. And so every time I have a thought, I consider maybe this thought is propaganda. Maybe this thought is brainwashing. Maybe this thought wasn't my thought, but was a thought that was engineered to be my thought by some other agenda or some other people. So I always have those considerations. I always second guess myself. I never assume that what I know is true. In fact, every time I state my opinion or my perspective, I try to remember to denote it as that, and to denote it as that temporarily. Like, this is my opinion now. This is not my opinion forever. This is my opinion and perspective based on the information that I have at the moment.
Well, if I may offer my own little piece of wisdom, which I actually share with you on the phone, it kind of flows into it that, for example, the term or definition perfection, what we think really exists. But for me, life is about balance, or striving to have the balance, because there's negative and there's positive, and
we're working on that. We're doing it together.
So I coined a little phrase that's somewhere on the internet that says perfection is imperfection at work. So maybe you can sneak that into one of your books, Donish, at some point. I'd be happy to let you include it at some point. Unfortunately, we have to bring the show to a close. We're going to be finishing with a great music piece by Paul Hoffman and William Lane called "The World Is Calling." Before we go, I want to thank my very, very special guest, Danish Ahmed, who Skyped in from Toronto for today's show. There is all his information, danishahmed.com. There's a complete list, and we will be posting that on our site so that you can connect. Certainly, Donish has already agreed. I'm not going to make it public to post the link to the on-demand version of this show. Donish is the author, Canadian best-selling author of A Dictionary of Distinctions, and especially known as the producer of the virally, tremendously successful blockbuster movie, The Love Movie, what I also like to call What is Love. Donish, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
You're welcome, Michael and Brenda. It was a pleasure. You know, we went all over the map, and I hope we haven't overwhelmed anybody. The most important thing is whatever you were inspired by, you know, you don't have to like me holistically. You don't have to agree with everything I said. I hope you don't, because it means that we're different and we can contribute to each other. But if there was something that I said that caused a spark, then I would encourage you to take action on that spark. Most of the time in life, we get inspired, but we don't take action. And to me, you cause transformation when you put inspiration into action. So I encourage you to put that inspiration into action, to change a behavior in your life, and then to take that and to teach it to somebody, because that's how we change the world. We find out what works for us, and we share what works for us with people who are interested in learning about how to improve their lives and how to better the world. This is how we contribute to the awakening. This is how we love the world, and let's love the world together.
I was just going to say that I love at the bottom of all your emails, let's love the world together, and always promoting the philosophy and the intention and the purpose in what you do. Lots of words that we've exchanged, a lot of meaningful words, Donish. I'm pleased, and I thought it would be fitting to end the show in dedication to you, I would say, and what you are doing in the world. Danish Ahmed is calling, but this piece is called "The World is Calling." Donish, thank you so much for joining us on Kryton Live, on fusedlogic TV, and I hope viewers will spread the word, and please let them know that this program will be available on demand in perpetuity. There'll be none of us left, and it'll still be playing, Donish, right?
Changing the world.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Brenda, thank you for co-hosting today.
Having me.
Please enjoy For Your Inspiration by Paul Hoffman and William Lane. This is The World is Calling.